A man's destiny cannot be rewritten.
That kick, I mean, it was really something special. When you want to talk about the great kicks ever in history, I know this one is labeled #1.
Raised in the trenches, Leon Edwards has been fighting in the shadows of the welterweight division. He was never paid attention to, never had the big highlights, and was never seen as one of the greats until he did the unthinkable. With one kick, he ended an era. With one kick, he created the biggest upset in UFC history. With one kick, Leon Edwards shocked the world. Leon Edwards was born on the 25th of August, 1991 in Kingston, Jamaica. Edwards lived with his parents and his brother in a one-room apartment. Growing up, he was surrounded by crime, and his father was involved in what he describes as questionable activities. Edward moved to the Aston area of Birmingham, England at age 9, and his father was shot and killed in a nightclub in London when Edward was 13.
Yeah, he was still involved with the gang culture and with doing what he was doing, and yeah, didn't end up getting murdered. Like I said, when I was 13 years old, and then yeah, from there it's like you have to be like the man of the house, and I was like, time to grow up. You're no longer a kid no more, you know. And so yeah, like I said, I understand the sacrifices they made. You know, I've also been involved in similar situations, and I kind of understand the thinking, you know.
Like you just heard, Edward was also involved in drug dealing and street fighting, but was able to get out of that lifestyle at age 17 when his mother got him to join an MMA club. Edwards began his professional fighting career in 2010, making his debut as an amateur at Bushido Challenge 2: A New Dawn. Edwards fought Carl Booth, winning via armbar submission in round 2. Edwards then signed a contract with Fight UK MMA. He debuted for the promotion against Damian Zlotnicki, winning via technical knockout in the first round. He had 2 more fights for the promotion, winning against Pawel Zwiefka and losing against Delroy McDowell via DQ by way of an illegal knee. Edward channeled all of the negative energy from his childhood into his just-started MMA career. He was broken, but somehow put all the pieces of his life back together with every fight he won. He didn't just win them by luck, he won them dominantly, just like this. Edwards kept putting in the work until he finally signed with the UFC in 2014. He made his debut against Claudio Silva at UFC Fight Night, Shogun vs. St. Preux. He won the fight dominantly via split decision. From there, Edwards went on a 2-fight win streak before having his first MMA loss at the hands of a man who set the path for his journey to the top. That man is Kamaru Usman. Here's the deal. Both fighters were unknown to the masses at the time, so the bout took place in the prelims of UFC on Fox 17, Dos Anjos vs. Cowboy 2 in Florida. Kamaru clearly beat Edwards in terms of striking, landing 48 significant strikes in the 3-round bout. Edwards, on the other hand, only managed to land 26 meaningful strikes on Usman and struggled to deal with his takedowns. Kamaru won the fight via unanimous decision and went on to become champion, while Edwards was somehow unnoticed. When you talk about fighters in the UFC with the most hype and who probably sell out the arena the most, Leon Edwards wouldn't make that list. To put that into context, here's a perfect analysis of Leon Edwards back then by Colby Covington.
Get another shot at Usman. One guy that would fit into the mix through that time frame is Leon Edwards. He's on a good win streak right now. What do you make of Leon?
Honestly, I haven't watched any of his fights. I didn't even know he existed. I mean, I know they call him Edward Scissorhands because he likes to poke people in fights and he hasn't won a legitimate fight. So, you know, I don't know what to think about the guy. I don't really know who he is.
It's a good one. I'm sitting there trying not to laugh. It's a good.
We know Colby says crazy things like,
Well, Michael Chandler was from Bellator, just made his UFC debut, beat Dan Hooker. Charles Oliveira just beat Tony Ferguson.
I heard about that hooker before. Is she still a hooker?
but this time, he was more right than wrong because no one really cared about Edwards. Despite having one of the longest win streaks in the welterweight division, Edwards never got a title shot. He went past some of the greatest fighters to ever be in the division: Gunnar Nelson, Donald Cerrone, Rafael dos Anjos, and even Nate Diaz. But it was his fight against Nate Diaz that proved to the UFC that he was truly champion material. Edwards was on a 9-fight unbeaten streak, a streak that earned him the number 3 spot in the crowded welterweight rankings. Nate Diaz, on the other hand, had not fought since he was strafed by Jorge Masvidal in 2019, and wasn't even ranked inside the welterweight top 15.
I don't know that I could tell you accurately that Nate can weaponize championship rounds better than Leon. I think that Leon is also a grinder, just not recognized for it. I think that Leon is also a 4th and 5th round fighter, just not recognized for it. So I think that we got a lot of fun to look forward to.
But before we talk about that fight, we've got a monthly shoutout contest for our subscribers where we give you the chance to earn a free shoutout in one of our videos. All you have to do is subscribe to our channel and comment "I subbed" in the comment section down below to enter this contest. Come on, hit that subscribe button and comment "I sub" now. Oh, and our monthly shoutout contest winner for this month is Triple! We appreciate the comment, Triple, and congrats on being our winner. Now, back to our video. Edwards faced Nate Diaz at UFC 263, and it was a 5-round slugfest. Edwards bloodied up and thoroughly dominated Diaz for 24 of the fight's 25 minutes. In the first 4 rounds, Edwards picked Diaz apart with punches, elbows, and kicks, damaging his lead leg and opening cuts on the head of Diaz. Edwards appeared to be coasting to victory. However, you can rely on Diaz to change the game at the dying minute. In the 5th round, with about 1 minute to go, a straight left hand by Diaz changed everything. Edwards wobbled, then retreated, and when Diaz came in pursuit, all Edwards could do was grab and clinch and hold on until the horn ended the fight. Edwards won by unanimous decision, and it was at that very moment that he finally caught the attention of MMA fans. After Kamaru Usman cleaned up the division with back-to-back victories against Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, and Gilbert Burns, Leon Edwards was announced as the #1 contender for the title.
I'm expecting the best Leon Edwards. Each and every time I step out there, I'm fighting the next best guy in the world. And that's what I'm expecting from Leon tomorrow. But it's my job to show these guys why I am the best in the world. So tomorrow night, like I said, if Leon did his homework, it's going to be a spectacular fight. If he didn't, it's going to be a short night.
I will beat him anywhere the fight goes, and wherever the fight goes, I am prepared to beat him. I made that mistake the first time, went in there thinking it's a striker versus wrestler match, and that's the mistake I made. And this is not the mistake I made this time. This is an MMA match, and it will be a mixed martial arts contest come August. And whether it's on the ground, in wrestling, in striking, and I am preparing myself to compete and beat him anywhere the fight goes.
And of course, a guy like Leon Edwards is a guy that you need time for, you need to prepare for. This is a very, very tough opponent. He thinks I'm taking him lightly, but I'm not. He's taken my contentness for, as me taking him lightly, but I'm really not. I'm just content with myself because I know the preparation that I put in, and of course I expect a certain result. So that's just it. Leon's a tough guy. August 20th, I would definitely be ready for him.
On the 20th of August 2022 at UFC 278, Edwards faced Usman for the 2nd time in his career and for the UFC Welterweight Championship. Edwards stunned the crowd in the first round when he became the first person to take Usman down. He utilized a trip from the clinch to put the champion on the mat and actually worked towards getting a rear naked choke before the first bell rang. The Nigerian Nightmare wasted no time in bouncing back in the 2nd round. He scored early in the period with boxing combinations that put the challenger against the fence. Kamaru Usman was comfortably ahead on the second scorecards and cruising to a 6th consecutive defense of his UFC welterweight title. The end was just 5 minutes of formality and of Usman's dominance on Edwards. In the 5th round's opening moments, Din Thomas, another valuable part of the UFC broadcast team, said,
"If it wasn't obvious enough, Leon is broken out, and the biggest tell that you can always know this is because he doesn't give his coach eye contact in the corner, and when they don't give him eye contact, they're ashamed, and he's embarrassed right now of his own performance."
The fight continued, and the seats were becoming empty. Fans started leaving, concluding Kamaru Usman had done it again. But then there was a cracking sound, and there was Usman on the mat, looking sightlessly up at the lights. The champ had just ducked into a perfectly disguised left high kick from Edwards, and there he was, separated from his senses. The cleanest knockout you could ever hope to see. And there was no more roof on the Vin Vincent Arena in Salt Lake City, Utah. With a mere 56 seconds remaining in the contest, Faith delivered a hand package of humility to Kamaru Usman. It may have been the end of his reign, but his end brought about the beginning of a new era, a new champion, and a new king of the welterweight division, and his name is Leon Edwards.